The town of Mount Pleasant has passed a face mask ordinance. Today, I talk one-on-one with Town Council member Gary Santos for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Councilman Gary Santos, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for having me back.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, let me jump right into it. A huge ordinance was just passed in the town of Mount Pleasant on yesterday.
Absolutely.
Can you talk to me more about that ordinance?
Well, you know, the ordinance makes it mandatory for our citizens to wear face masks in certain areas. It could be grocery stores, it could be pharmacies and places like that. And so what it does is it makes it mandatory, and it also will make it basically a crime if somebody is caught in there. If an employee doesn't have a mask on or whatever, it can be a $25 penalty, and or if it happens more than once, it could go up to $100. And I just, you know, it ended up passing with a 6-2 vote. I was against it because I really believe that we should strongly encourage it. In fact, I had actually put together a resolution that strongly encourages the citizens to follow the CDC guidelines and the rules to make sure that they are all doing the social distancing and making sure that they wear masks and things like that. But there's no penalty as far as police involvement to it. So we have a code enforcement officer, one code enforcement officer, and over 92,000 people here. So the ordinance that they passed is going to really be unenforceable because you'll have one person. There's no way they can enforce that throughout. And so I was hoping that they would pass the resolution now and ask people in a strong sense to please abide by the rules and the laws. And I think the people of Mount Pleasant would do that. I don't think that they needed an ordinance to where they are forced to do it with the threat of monetary penalty in order to do that.
How many people attended last night's town hall meeting?
We had about 19 people show up, and according to my tally that I had, we had one more vote against the mask than we did for the mask.
And you obviously talked earlier about the one code enforcement officer. Where exactly will they patrol to make certain that people were actually wearing masks?
Well, you know, I mean, he's got a large municipality to patrol, and there's no way that he can do that and do his job. I mean, he has a very important job. He's the one that picks up signs and makes people make sure they don't put signs out in the public, and whenever there's issues, it could be the noise ordinance issues. I mean, he has a serious job already that he is now going to have to try and monitor over 92,000 people to make sure that when they go into these stores that they have these masks. And as I said, it's completely unenforceable, and I wish they would have just done the resolution instead, so that we can encourage everybody, strongly encourage everybody to wear the masks. You know, it's funny because at the council meeting, we had 8 members there. Only 4 of us had masks on, and 2 of the 4 of us, we were the ones that voted against it. But we're wearing masks because we know it's very important to wear the masks. So anyhow, so that's where we are. And our code enforcement officer, God bless him, he's going to be busy. And I just think it's a shame that we couldn't have done it a different way rather than to force this ordinance onto the people.
You talk about the people. You talk about that one code enforcement officer for the town of Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
Is there any money in the budget to hire more officers right now to enforce this?
No, we have a freeze on. You know, we have a freeze on raises, and we have a freeze on hiring new people. So he can't do it. The police can't get involved because the police are not involved in the ordinance. They are not mentioned in the ordinance, so they cannot get involved unless an issue happens with the code enforcement officer to where he needs to call the police. Sure. You know, so he's on his own. And the issue is if he becomes ill and can't work, then they have to pull somebody from the planning committee, the planning department, in order to do his job. So that means if you have permits waiting to be approved, or if you have some stuff, it'll have to wait because that person will be out doing the code enforcement officer's job. Awesome. And so it's going to really affect the town because they've actually included the town in this as well.
Now, aren't there like donut holes here in Mount Pleasant that may not have to abide by this ordinance?
Absolutely. There's some donut holes. The Snowden is one of them. You got areas in 4 mile, 6 mile, 12 mile areas that all are not in the town. And so, that's the situation. But what they've done to these stores is really put some of that on the stores to say that the staff of the stores have to enforce this. And I just think the ordinance was a little bit too much. It shouldn't have been that way. I think we should have given the citizens an opportunity to do it on their own after we strongly suggested they do it. And if something, doesn't get better down the line, then we can do something else. But I just think that forcing our citizens to do this was not the appropriate way to do. As you see, I'm wearing my mask. I'm not forced to wear my mask, and I do it because it's the right thing to do.
Sure.
And I think most of our citizens will do the same thing.
And I know when we talked yesterday, you said, hey, this ordinance has a point of flaws. How many more flaws are in this ordinance?
Well, there's a couple of things in there, and one of them is, like I said, the town is also in that ordinance. So if one of our little staff members that we have during the summertime doesn't wear his mask, the town can be penalized because they are a business. And if he gets caught twice or 3 times, then they can actually revoke the business permit of the town. So I don't think it was prepared properly. I think it should have been done better. It didn't need to be rushed. We have plenty of time to get this done right, but it was rushed, and that's why I voted against it. I just didn't think that the numbers were accurate, and I didn't think that it was well thought out, and so I voted against it.
The numbers, what are the numbers for the coronavirus here in the town of Mount Pleasant?
My understanding was we have about, I think they said 27 deaths here, and I'm not even sure if that's in just the 29464, 29466 area codes. I think it's includes Ondal and other places as well. So it's minimal compared to other areas there. So that's why I said I'm not sure why we rushed into this. We should have waited. We should have looked at the figures a lot better. We should have done a few things to make sure that this ordinance is a good ordinance and it can be well protected in a court of law. And unfortunately, they pushed it through.
The court of law, the mayor actually consulted with the town attorneys?
Well, the mayor, I'm sure he did to have the ordinance prepared, but the attorneys prepared the ordinance according to what they're asked to do. I asked them to prepare a resolution, and they prepared the resolution for me so that I could put that up as well. So, they work for the town, and they work for the mayor and council, and so if they're asked to do something, and they've done a great job for us. They really have done a great job for us, and they've saved the town millions and millions of dollars in lawsuits, and it's unfortunate now that they're being asked to leave, but that's the way, I guess, government works.
Now, with this particular ordinance that just passed and will go into effect tomorrow, July 1st, how many lawsuits are the town attorneys prepared to take on?
Well, I can't tell you. I really don't know, but I do know that there are citizens out there that are watching this very carefully. We did receive one email from somebody that said he's already been contacted by a few people and are preparing, to file a lawsuit. So I expect that there'll be some issues on this. I hope not, but I fully expect that when you have an issue like this, the way it was done, I fully expect that we will have some issues.
The way it was done, did they use the Robert Rules of Law?
They did through most of it. At one point, since it was an emergency meeting, he was able to put Robert's rules aside and make another decision based on just what he wanted to do. And I challenged him on it. It's on the video that I think he should have always stood by Robert's Rules of Order because he's always done that. He keeps a copy of it on his desk, and he always tells the citizens when they're doing something that we go by the Robert's Rules of Order. But however, at this time, he decided not to go by Robert's Rules of Order and make his own decision based on how he felt, and I protested that, and it was very clear in the video. You can see that I was not happy that you use Robert's Rules of Order when you want to, and then other times when you don't want to. So I think you should always go by Robert's Rules of Order.
Now, you talked earlier about your resolution, and obviously you talked about the town's ordinance. What will take precedent tomorrow?
The ordinance always. The ordinance is the rule of law, and so when we voted on the ordinance, and this is what's kind of crazy, we voted on the ordinance passed, and then we voted on my resolution, and that passed 100%. They all unanimously, everybody voted for my resolution. And so I was kind of scratching my head because We have an ordinance now which really takes precedent because it is the rule of law. But we now have a resolution right behind it that has a lot of the same things in it. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
And you talk about obviously this emergency meeting that they held. Obviously, when exactly did you hear about this?
I was actually out of town, and so when I heard about it, I was out of town. We had 2 other council members that were out of town as well, and so the mayor ended up having to cancel it. He had a quorum of 5, so he could have called the meeting and they could have had the meeting, but he decided not to because he wanted to have these other council members back in. So they put it off. But certainly they had a quorum, so they could have had the meeting, but he just decided not to.
And as a disclaimer, I reached out to Mayor Will Haney via Twitter on Friday to talk with him one-on-one for Quentin's Close-Ups. He said he wasn't available for me, and I hope to get him back on Quentin's Close-Ups soon.
Yeah, okay. I hope he does too. I hope you can give him some of these good questions.
Count on it. Now, the city of Charleston obviously has signs in many of these businesses' windows now saying, hey, this is how you should wear your mask. This is why we're asking you to do this. How would the town of Mount Pleasant articulate this to the business owners as well as residents?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure how they're going to be able to do it. We'll have to find a way to do it. There's got to be a way because it's an ordinance now and it's the rule of law. So they'll have to contact them, each one individually, and make sure that they all know about it. Because the way it's written, some stores you can go into without a mask and some you can't.
Right.
So you're gonna have to differentiate which one is going to be held by the rule of law, and you're gonna have to make sure they know, and you're gonna have to make sure the citizens know. If they're used to going into one store without a mask, now all of a sudden they have to go in with the mask. They have to know that, or else they could be fined, and the store could be fined.
Fine. Now, with this obviously ordinance as far as wearing face masks and obviously face coverings, did you all have a chance to extend the town emergency?
We did. Well, to give the mayor emergency powers, yes, to be able to do that, and we decided not to.
Okay.
We decided that we wanted to go back to the way we normally do things and have full council meetings. We were all elected by the citizens. We all ought to have an opportunity to make decisions, and so that's why we decided to do that. Instead of having just the mayor to be able to make these decisions, we decided that we were all elected. Like I said, we all are responsible to the citizens, and we all want to be a part of those decisions.
Now, how long will this ordinance last?
61 days,
Okay.
I believe it is.
Okay.
Now, and then after that, we'll have to go back and look at it again.
Gary Santos, thank you so much for your time, and I hope I didn't miss anything else from the town hall meeting yesterday.
No, I think you did a great job, man. It's always a pleasure, meeting with you and talking
Likewise,
with you.
and welcome back to Quentin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.